I'm Jenna LaGrange, and this is Embracing the Chaos. What is up, you guys, and welcome to the third episode of Embracing the Chaos. So with this episode, it's going to be phase 3, or the last episode, where I really do a deep dive into the recovery alcoholic side of my life. I'll still talk about sobriety as we go through these podcasts, depending on who I'm talking to or having a discussion with. But this particular episode, we are going to talk about how I have stayed sober. Because as we know, it is not an easy road. It has a lot of ups and downs and bumps and bruises along the way. But staying sober has gotten easier with time. I know people talk about time heals everything. It doesn't necessarily heal, but with time, I've kind of forgotten. I've forgotten alcohol, if you will. It's not my first thought when things get hard. Now, every now and again, I do go through a tough situation or a new situation where I do think about it, but it's not my first thought, go-to thought when things get hard. So with staying sober, it's kind of happened in 3 phases as well for me. So the first phase was going through minor withdrawals, I would say, and facing my trauma and having to face the things I was using alcohol to avoid. That was the first thing I had to do, and it was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life because, of course, I'm using alcohol to avoid those things because I don't want to think about them. I don't want to talk about them. But I need to. I need to get it out. I need to talk about those things to release it. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with this podcast. I'm sharing my stories of my life. And in a way, after each episode, I'm letting go of the stories that I'm sharing. I'm letting those go. It's like a release, a relief off of me, pressure off my shoulders. And it's been kind of an amazing journey in just 2 episodes, now doing my third. I will say this third episode has been a little harder to record, and I'm not sure why. This is probably like the third time I've attempted to record this, where I finally like the flow of how things are going. The first 2 just, they weren't vibing, they weren't clicking with me, and that's going to happen. And I think that's just a true example of life as a whole. So back to phase 1, going through withdrawals. If anybody knows anything about alcohol withdrawal, and I know I've talked about this before, it is the only withdrawal that can kill you. Working in Rock Island County Jail, I've seen alcohol withdrawals so bad that I couldn't even begin to explain to you what that person was going through. Mine, luckily, were fairly minor, just some aches and pains and headaches and things of that nature, but not to the full extent that I've seen them before while working in the jail or while being a police officer, for that matter. So going through those withdrawals and trying to face my own traumas and get those out, because it's something that I held to myself for so long. I didn't feel safe to talk to anybody. And though Jack was still new to my life, he felt safe enough that I could share everything with him. So I did. I unloaded all my trauma onto him in a month's time. He listened to everything, guided me through the ups and downs with that, and really helped me get on the right path. So the second phase of this, addicts. Addicts are always going to struggle with addiction. It doesn't matter what we do, addiction will always be a part of our life. So for addicts, trying to find something to replace what we were addicted to before, but a healthier addiction is the best way that we could do it. I know For example, smokers, a lot of them get addicted to gum, something to keep their mouth moving instead of putting a cigarette in their mouth. For me, I turned to fitness, nutrition, and self-defense. Those were the three things that I dove into hard and really became like my backbone. So the self-defense I started doing with Jack, actually. I started doing that because my ex was a stalker, stalking me. Didn't matter where I was at, some way, somehow he found me. So I knew that I needed to learn to defend myself properly. I was always already, well, gosh dang, sorry for that. I was also working in Rock Island County Jail as a correctional officer, and fighting in there is gonna happen. You could be the best talker in the world and talk anybody down, but that one person that comes in drunk or high or whatever that you're not going to be able to reason with and you do have to fight with, you need to be able to defend yourself. And I also had goals to become a police officer at that time. So I knew I needed to be able to defend myself and prolong my ability to fight off and live until backup could arrive. Because I know I'm not the biggest person and I'm not going to be able to beat up everybody because there's somebody out there that's always better than me. But being able to prolong that fight so I can survive is going to be really important. So, with corrections, law enforcement, and having a stalker ex and just the world that we live in today, self defense was a huge, huge thing. And it's also where my Muay Thai journey began. And that is something that we will talk about in another podcast. We'll talk about my law enforcement side, my military side, and my Muay Thai side, among the other various things that I do with my life, because as we know, embracing the chaos is my life. So, with the fitness and nutrition side of things, I just started working out. Running has become a huge part to my mental health survival. Instead of turning to alcohol, I turned to running. I hate running. I ain't even gonna lie, I hate it with a passion, but I found a lot of peace in running. And running can be scary, not only because it's hard, but because you are literally left to your own thoughts in your own mind. There's nobody around you, there's nothing else going on. You are running lost in your mind. And I think that has benefited me the most to go through whatever emotions I'm going through at the time, rationalize why am I feeling this way about whatever the situation was, and then releasing that while I'm running. It has been beyond therapeutic. Again, I hate running, and I'm going to reiterate that over and over again. It is not my favorite thing to do, but it has helped tremendously. And it's been the biggest godsend I could ever ask for. So, fitness, the Muay Thai, the running have been a huge aspect to my healing process, and it is something I'm addicted to. Now, with fitness, sometimes we deal with some health issues. As we all know, I'm dealing with quite a few myself. So, doing Muay Thai and running all the time has not been a card on my plate. So, what is something else I do that I've become addicted to besides alcohol is nutrition and arts and crafts. So, nutrition, I love to cook. I don't get the time to because we're embracing the chaos and life is always crazy. But I do enjoy the process of tracking my macros, tracking the food that I'm eating, figuring out how I can wiggle in that chocolate chip cookie into my day and still meet the goals that I have set in place. So that is another big addiction that I've turned to, cooking, macro tracking. And it got to the point that I actually went and got my nutrition certification to learn more about it. And I would love to become a dietitian at some point, but that requires a lot of time. And as we know, I don't have a lot of it. So I haven't been able to figure out how to fit that into my schedule yet, but I will one day. The other thing that I like to do, arts and crafts. I've done custom tumblers. I enjoy painting. I enjoy home remodel stuff. Doing this podcast has been very arts and crafts for me. Things like that, just decorating and things like that have been also another outlet for when I'm struggling with a situation. And within each of these addictions, we'll call them fitness, nutrition, the Muay Thai self-defense training, the arts and crafts, the reoccurring theme there is that I'm usually doing those things by myself, or it's a way for me to get lost within myself, to really think about why am I triggered? What is causing it? Why am I in the mood that I'm in at this time? And then I sit on that, figure out what happened, what caused, rationalize it, process it, and then let it go. Let it go through the food. Let it go through the workout that I'm doing. Let it go through the art that I'm producing at the time, like this podcast. So releasing whatever it is that's bothering me has been absolutely huge. So with that, we kind of roll into phase three. And phase three combines everything. So I faced my traumas, went through the withdrawals, figured out a replacement for my addiction. With phase three, it's realizing when I'm triggered because of my trauma and how to utilize the addictions that I now have to benefit me the most. In a couple situations to give you, my most recent and hardest trigger that I went through was when Jack went to Thailand. He was gone for approximately 3 weeks or so. He landed in Thailand, and of course, all hell breaks loose. It cannot go smoothly with him or back at home. With him, he landed, gets to the hotel. For some reason, they didn't have his booking, and it was just a disaster. I spent 8 hours trying to figure out where he was going to stay, how we were going to pay for it, and all this stuff to help him through that because they had landed at like, I think it was like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning when they landed and finally got to the hotel. So they stayed at that hotel, but I needed to figure out what their future plan was for the rest of the 3 weeks while they slept and recovered from the long haul. So on top of that, I'm home trying to balance my job, my kids, and the gym all by myself. And Jack has been a big pillar when I'm struggling through whatever it is that I'm going through. And this is the first time where he's been gone for an extended period of time, and I couldn't just talk to him at any point because Thailand's about 12 hours ahead of us. So our schedules are complete opposites. And that made things so hard. I will tell you what, that day when everything was falling apart there, I felt like everything was falling apart at home. I was trying to figure out how I was going to run the gym and balance it and take care of my kids and feed them, feed myself, do all the things. And then on top of it, I've got dogs I need to take care of. So there was just a lot at one time, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it, and I felt very alone because I didn't have the pillar that I normally have readily available to me. In that moment, I sat there and I thought, man, it would be so easy to just get shit-faced and let all of this fall apart and it not be my problem. At least in the moment that I was shit-faced. And it was something I really sat on and I pondered, and I'm looking at my kids thinking, man, I can't do that to them. It would be so easy, but I can't do that to them. And I know I talked a little bit about it in my first podcast, but I do keep like a countdown of how many days I've been sober because I think it's really cool to go back and take a look at that. And that particular day, I had literally hit 3,000 days. And that is a huge feat and something that I refuse to let falter. I want that to be 10,000 days, 20,000. I want as many days as I can possibly put on there till the day I die. I want to be sober till then and put that number out there because I think that's just like the coolest thing in the world. So in that moment, I had to stop and think about everything that I had. I had my kids, I had my husband, I had a good job. that cared for me and took care of me when everything kind of fell apart. They were there for me. The gym family that I had that helped take care of us while Jack was gone. It was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. But sitting there with that, thinking about my kids were really the biggest thing on top of like the 3,000 days, but my kids, man, looking at them and thinking they would be so disappointed if they knew. And that hit me so hard because I have two little girls and I want to be the strongest person I possibly can be for them. And I don't want them to ever look back at anything I've ever done and be embarrassed. I want them to know, like, yes, we all struggle as people. It is life. It is literally life. But what matters is how we pick ourselves up afterwards and how we move on from those rough situations. And I think that has been the biggest motivator through this is my kids, but as well as myself. I want to be proud of myself. And to say that I am proud of myself is not easy because, as we know, we are our worst critics. I'm disappointed in the things that I've done in my past, but they happened. I can't change them. But what I can do is change my future. And that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing it through this podcast. I'm doing it through the gym. I'm doing it through my everyday functions. Just putting out there what life is like. Yes, I struggled, but God damn it, I'm being successful. I run a business, multiple businesses at that. I got called up to active duty a couple years ago and they're keeping me on there. So obviously I'm doing a good job in that realm. I'm still part-time as a cop, rocking that. I have my master's degree. I'm an educated, strong woman. And that is something I am so beyond proud of. And I hope anybody listening, you take a look at your life and you are proud of the things that you've accomplished. When you had your lowest lows, what'd you do? You brought yourself back up. And I think that is the biggest accomplishment anybody can truly have. And that's picking themselves up. Keep moving forward even when things get hard, pushing forward to the next day. Because every day that we wake up is a new day. It's a new beginning. And it's a new opportunity to do amazing things with your life. So with that, this is the end of podcast number 3 in phase 3 of my alcoholic recovery. We talked about some deeper things within this podcast, but it's also opened the door to more of my life and some things that I'm super excited to talk about with some very exciting people here in the future. We're going to dive more into the Muay Thai world and how I really decided to start fighting and being competitive in that realm. We're going to talk some law enforcement correction stuff. I'm going to interview some amazing people who have done absolutely amazing things with their career. I'm also going to talk more military. As we know, I'm an Army and Jack's a Marine, and they do not get along. Them crayon eaters are a whole other breed of their own. Jack will tell you himself, they are a cult, and that is the truth. But we've also done some amazing things with our careers, and those are things that I would like to talk about because I think a lot of the crowd that listens to my podcast would benefit for some of the things that we have to talk about, how we've processed things that we've gone through, both law enforcement and military side, with everybody that I will interview. So a lot of great things coming. I appreciate everybody that's listened up to this point. If you've got any questions for me or questions about life or just anything in general, please send a message either to my personal number, personal Facebook. I also have an Embracing the Chaos Instagram and Facebook. Send those messages, comments, any feedback that you have on this podcast. I greatly appreciate it. I do put it all into account and I do attempt to apply it to everything that I've been doing thus far. That's why the intro keeps changing slightly every time we do this. So any feedback you have, I'd love to hear it. Please send it my way. And with that, stay weird, stay loud, and always embrace the chaos.